So your teenager is struggling with depression and can't even get out of bed. How do you help them? Well, we're going to talk about that today on Tips on Teens. My name is Kent Toussaint. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I specialize in helping kids, teens, and families live happier lives. I lead two organizations, Teen Therapy Center and the nonprofit 501c3 organization, Child and Teen Counseling, both here in Woodland Hills, California. And every Wednesday at noon, I jump onto Facebook Live to answer your parenting questions. Let's answer today's. My son is depressed and unmotivated. He won't do anything. He knows he should be getting a job, but he stays in bed just looking at his phone. He isn't even hanging out with his friends like he usually does. I think he knows he's depressed too. We've suggested therapy, but he doesn't want to do anything. How do you help someone like that? Would depression medication help? Thank you for your question. As a parent, seeing your teenager go through depression, it feels hopeless. It feels helpless. There's so much you want to do to help. You just want to shake him, but that doesn't work. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And we're going to talk a little more about how to help support someone in this kind of situation. First, I want to address the last question you had. Would medication help? In full disclosure, I'm a licensed marriage family therapist, not a medical doctor, so I can't give you any direct medical advice, except that if you're considering medication, you should talk to a licensed psychiatrist, especially someone who focuses on adolescents. The reason is you may have several questions or doubts about medication, and those are totally valid, and you should bring those questions to the psychiatrist. And if they can answer the questions to your liking in a way that makes sense to you, that you think going down the medication route will be helpful, then you go down that route. If for some reason they can't satisfy those answers, then don't. Ultimately, you and your spouse or your co-parent and your teenager need to make the decision for you guys. But the thing about medication, I don't necessarily think it's the first thing you try. But it's not necessarily the worst thing you could try either. There's a lot of avenues that you can support your teenager with. First of all, be patient, be loving, be understanding. Approaching with anger is not going to help. It's going to push them away and push them deeper down the hole. And for those of you who don't really understand what depression is, never really felt depression is like this heavy weight that's on you that it's just never ending. There, things that you used to enjoy and you give you pleasure are gone. Those don't exist anymore. They may still be there, but you can't enjoy them. If you really enjoyed baseball, you can't enjoy it anymore. It doesn't mean anything. There's nothing that matters, nothing that means anything. And it could be physically daunting as well. You could just be tired all the time. You can't eat, or you're eating too much. You can have physical pains. There's just this loss of hope and resiliency in depression, and it can be really devastating. And it's not just, get up and go, just go do stuff. Well, yeah, logically that makes sense, but depression is not about logic, it's about emotions. And so it's really important that you and any of his support team there is understanding. Now, what are the things that one can do to combat depression? Any one of these things is not really going to be the home run hit, but it may be something just to get you on base. Things like creativity. If your son has historically been someone who's creative, whether it's painting or drawing or making music or what have you, some amazing art can come from depression if you can channel that. Also, physical activity. Doesn't have to be extravagant. It could be just taking a walk. Also, just getting outside. Anecdotally, I've had several clients who've been dealing with depression and anxiety to some extent too, who they've gone like camping out in the wilderness for days at a time. It's a camping trip, and they're out in the woods or in the forest or they're at the beach or wherever it is, and they feel better. Now, one, because the phone's not working, so it's not a distraction, but just being in nature can be a positive outlet for people. Gardening, I've known many people who like putting their hands in the soil and digging and growing a garden can be very helpful. Caring for others, whether it's animals, whether that's at a homeless shelter, whether that's in a senior citizen home, whatever. Giving of yourself to someone else, seeing that you're helping someone else can help combat depression. Again, none of these things alone will do it, but maybe a combination of several of these things help start digging out of the hole and seeing that there may be light at the end of the tunnel. This is not an exhaustive list. These are just a handful of things that you may want to consider in helping your son and getting him to therapy. If you can get him in the car and get him to the office, any adolescent therapist and say, if you just get him here, I can take care of the rest. Because a lot of times when you get the clients here in the office, you get your son here, he wants to talk. It's just the transition of getting out of bed and to the office is challenging. But if you can somehow tear him away from his phone, get him out of the bed, get him in the car, you're helping him. Now, if he says, no, I'm not getting in the car, I don't want to go, you can't make me go, obviously you don't want to get in this tug of war with him. But if you can somehow get him in the car, that's most of the battle right there. So this is not an easy topic. Depression can look a lot of different ways. We just kind of touched on a little bit the highlights of how it can look. Obviously, it's a very nuanced topic, especially if it's going into bipolar diagnoses, which means there's mania and depression, which is a whole other video. But anyways, that's our talk for today. It's big. Keep talking about it. Keep talking to your network. Make sure you're getting the support you need, because it can be very infuriating and frustrating and helpless as a parent. Again, my name is Kent Toussaint with Teen Therapy Center and Child and Teen Counseling. This is another edition of Tips on Teens every Wednesday at noon. If you want your question answered, email us at tipsonteens@teentherapycenter.com. I love your questions. Keep them coming. I will see you next Wednesday at noon on Facebook Live. See you guys. Bye-bye.